Hannah relocated to France after my wife and I got divorced. My daughter visited New York. She was a born American. Her desire of working in the American publishing sector was realized when she applied for a job at a publishing company at the age of 25. But throughout the interview, she was made fun of by the two interviewers, who said things like, "A publishing company for someone who can't write in English? You still have to work on your English. To speak correctly, you must study more." My daughter controlled her anger despite the hurtful remarks. They would not listen, even when she stated that she is fluent in English and that her nationality is American. The interviewers ultimately told her she was hired after insulting her nonstop, but this was all a part of a bigger plan they planned. My daughter returned from the orientation with an angry and dejected expression on her face and said, "My employee ID name says incompetent." I stormed into orientation after learning about the situation and said, "You're all fired because this building is being demolished." My name is Ryan Johnson. My wife and daughter were very dear to me, but we were divorced when she was in elementary school. It was evident why we divorced. I became so focused on my career that I disregarded my family. My spouse and I traveled to the United States together after our marriage, but she left with our daughter. But I'm happy with my job, and I have no regrets. My goal is to create bridges between nations all over the world and open doors to other cultures. Hannah, my only kid with my French wife, has this similar mentality. I was stationed abroad and employed for a multinational corporation when I met my wife. In general, the people there were amiable and charming. Their strong sense of self-expression and their ability to articulate their goals and viewpoints were well appreciated. Hannah has a bright personality and is equally as gregarious, warming up to people immediately. But while our kid was in primary school, I got divorced from my wife. I appreciate that you constantly work late, but we haven't actually spoken in a while, and I don't see the point in us being together anymore. I believe we should think about taking other routes for our future, she informed me. By deciding to relocate to America and be far from her friends and family, I caused my wife to feel alone. I appreciated her views because of this. Following the divorce, Hannah accompanied her mother to her own nation. Hannah Smith replaced Hannah Johnson as her name. She is returning to the United States after almost 15 years. I am excited and anxious at the same time when I arrive at the airport and wait close to the gate where Hannah's flight is scheduled to land. I am really excited to see my kid again, and I didn't get any sleep at all last night. I look for her when her flight lands and people start to come out of the gate. I wave and exclaim, "Hannah, Hannah," with a bright smile as soon as I see her. She leaves her heavy suitcase behind and hurries toward me, excited to meet me. "Dad." We give one another hugs and celebrate our reunion. We depart from the airport together and make our way home. Hannah, who adores comics, American food, and culture, hopes to use her language abilities to work in America. I want to share my love for American culture with the world. I gave Hannah a recommendation for a certain business to assist her realize her ambition. We make the decision to visit that business on our way home from the airport. This is the business Hannah will be interviewing with. I'm getting nervous. You'll be fine if you approach it with your usual bright personality, Hannah. I felt like there was someone watching us as we were talking. I noticed two people in suits staring at us when I turned to face where the stare was coming from. "Can I help you with something?" It's great holding hands with a young, beautiful foreign woman. They both chuckle to us. "No, she's my daughter." "Your daughter? Do you have a daughter?" In a voice that was hardly audible to us, the woman murmured to the man, "It's a secret relationship." I was irritated, but I held back my rage so Hannah wouldn't see me acting hostile. "Do you work at this company?" "Yes, as you can see, it's a major company, so it's not a place for you." "Hey, since a while ago." "Stop, Hannah." Hannah was one of those people who just had to say what she had to say. She wanted to make it plain that she was uncomfortable. But they could work for the company she might start working for shortly. In addition to my irate daughter, I distinctly recalled that the employee IDs said Patricia Brown and Mary Jones, and I wanted to avoid creating a bad situation. Hannah's anger didn't go away even after we arrived home. Dad, I don't want to go to that company. Those two are the only ones who seem unusual, so don't worry. That company is full with talented people. Really? Yes, I guarantee it. Hannah was practicing for her interview one day in the living room, her look tight. Thinking about how she would present herself, she arranged her experiences and strengths and jotted them down in her notepad. Dad, can you play the role of the interviewer? Got it. To begin, allow me to introduce myself. Hi, my name is Hannah Smith. She attempts to shake hands with me while posing as the interviewer after saying this. Hannah, you should shake hands with the interviewer and make eye contact first when in the United States. Next, during the interview, express interest in what the interviewer is saying. Invading the interviewer's area is impolite. Are you serious? That has a very American sound to it. Well, in comparison to other nations, sure. Additionally, it's crucial to write a thank you note as soon as possible following the interview. I practiced basic interview etiquette with her. Let's go on to discussing how to respond to inquiries. In what way would you answer that query? That's fine, but maybe you should give a more specific example. Hannah prepared her responses to frequently asked interview questions in advance. She improved her responses with my suggestions. All right, let's try again. Hannah put in a lot of practice so she would be confident on the day of the interview. At last, the day of the interview arrived. Bracing herself in the morning, Hannah felt equal parts anxious and excited. Hannah, exude assurance. I offered her a comforting pat on the shoulder and smiled, telling her that she would be all right, no matter what happened. My remarks gave Hannah confidence, and she left with her head held high. This is what my daughter told me after that. She greeted everyone in the interview room with a nice to meet you. It's not like this for us, is it? You're that girl from before, trying to act all grown up, and you came for an interview, said Patricia Brown and Mary Jones, who had earlier treated us badly. I apologize. All right, let's not stress over it. Kindly have a seat. Excuse me, Hannah said, trying not to panic. So, where are you from? I was born in the United States, but when I was 8, my parents divorced, and I moved to my mom's home country with her. Ah, I see. You struck me as a young woman with a strong sense of self. So how important is employment to the people in your mother's country? Efficiency and quality are prioritized in the United States, but how about in your nation? Brown's inquiry momentarily startled Hannah, but she calmly described the work ethic in her mother's nation. Nevertheless, Jones and Brown persisted in their inquiries, demonstrating their unfavorable assumptions about her nation and culture. I've heard that individuals in your nation are slow to react. Is that accurate? If you work negligently, it becomes an issue. While Hannah attempted to defend her heritage, the tone of the interview became more somber. Are you even fluent in English? Are you able to write in English? Jones asked quick inquiries. Yes, I speak Japanese, French, and English. Nevertheless, I'm not particularly good at writing because I've spent the majority of my life overseas. An English language learner who aspires to be employed by a publishing company, you certainly possess nerve. You still need to work on your English, by the way. To speak correctly, you must study more. Hannah was rendered speechless by Brown's unexpected remarks, which shocked and upset her. They kept inquiring about her mother's nation for the remainder of the session. It seemed like they were hinting that the nation and customs of her mother were inappropriate for an American business. Hannah felt discouraged after the interview and thought her efforts had been in vain. She was really stressed and uncomfortable due to the unjust inquiries and remarks that resulted from cultural misinterpretations and prejudices. I'm at my breaking point with this firm. I put a lot of effort into getting ready for the interview, and this is the result. Hannah looked for a long time at the lobby's atrium through watery eyes. Just as she was going to depart and settle herself a little, she heard her name called from behind. Miss Smith. Hannah Smith. It was the obnoxious Brown. Yes. I thought I should give this to you. Brown gave her an envelope. There was a draft offer letter inside. What does this mean? We need ladies like you in this globalized world. We'd assumed an immediate notification because we can't afford to let you go to another organization. Her bewilderment at the abrupt shift in attitude was evident. Once your official hiring is confirmed, we'll send you an email with the details of the orientation later. When Hannah realized she had been employed, she was overjoyed. She ran straight to me when she got home. Dad, listen, I got the offer. Sincerely, I was in disbelief. That was the first time I heard of that company making an immediate job offer, but my daughter's name was clearly on the letter. I would eventually come to regret not having looked over the letter carefully at the time. The enthusiasm in our home was palpable on the day of the orientation. Hannah got ready and put on a suit as soon as she woke up. A mixture of anticipation and nervousness was visible on her face. It's time to go. The sight of Hannah in her new attire brought me to tears. Like I had on the day of the interview, I gave her a gentle prod in the rear and watched her go with pride. However, Hannah returned virtually instantly. Have you forgotten anything? The orientation has barely begun. Why have you returned home? No, that's not the case. My ID reads incompetent on it. What? Incapable. My hands shook with rage at the news. With their employee IDs in hand, the newly hired staff members had congregated in the business lobby for the orientation. The new hires came to the gate one by one, presenting their IDs to the reader. However, Hannah was refused access as she attempted to pass through the gate, and an error message abruptly sprang up on the display. Her face became pale as she examined her ID. She was not identified by name. It said, Smith, incompetent. While other staff members hurried over to comprehend the situation, everyone was left in startled silence. Brown then materialized, her heels tapping the ground. I became aware of the circumstance. I apologize. It appears that the ID was issued incorrectly. There is no mention of you among the new hires. What do you mean? Oh, I should have told you. All I offered you in the letter was a verbal commitment and a tentative offer. Not a formal employment offer was made. You don't seem to have understood English. We discovered more capable individuals than you. Hannah couldn't say anything. We made the IDs as a joke, and it accidentally got sent to you. That is really awful. Why would you act in such way? The other workers, who had seen it all, muttered in shock. It's your fault you tried to challenge me. Hannah dropped everything she was carrying and bolted from the scene. After hearing the narrative, I couldn't hold still and immediately went to a specific location. The last-minute arrangements for the orientation were being made behind the scenes. Regarding the earlier events in the lobby, Brown, is everything okay? If the president finds out, that will be a serious issue. It's all right. Not even the president will know. The president's whereabouts and activities are unknown to me. Such unimportant things don't concern him, Brown chuckled. You did that, but why? You might have simply turned her down like normal. Because our company is inundated with applicants who wish to interview. The majority of them are unfit and incompetent for our organization. Conducting interviews and reading resumes is tiresome. The male worker questioned Brown's strategies and attempted to have a moral conversation about the matter. But you didn't have to treat the girl like that. These women who are so fixated on foreigners annoy me. I reasoned that it would be effective if we used her to propagate the notion that this organization shouldn't employ incompetent staff. The heartless Brown attempted to defend her behavior by asking, "Do you really think that's a good way to handle it? It's going to keep the inept ones away, right? It facilitates our work. But you put that girl through a lot. Maybe, but it's necessary for our benefit. Harming people in order to further one's own interests has a detrimental effect on the organization's reputation and culture. I think everyone there felt the same way. Abruptly, a staff member dashed in. Brown, from the General Affairs Department. Mr. Williams. What's going on? Observe this. How did you get here? Mr. Williams displayed a social media post on his smartphone. Brown saw it, and her face went white. What is this? The entire encounter with Hannah had been captured on camera and uploaded to the internet. The nasty comments that followed, such as, "That woman should quit. You're the real incompetent one. Spread this, and she deserves public backlash," were all over the comment area as it immediately went viral. What every employee who saw the situation felt was expressed by the spectators. The footage demonstrated who was actually bad for the business. Brown held it in her hands and hung her head. What actions will we take? It quickly became so popular, and the orientation is set to begin. For now, let's proceed with the orientation as planned to avoid further confusion. As a result, the orientation started later than expected. The ceremony carried on, as if the previous incident had never happened. The new hires were greeted and given words of encouragement. Jones, who took part in the hiring process, provided the address of the representative. "Hello, prospective workers. I'm sorry about the inconvenience previously. However, I think that even in such difficult circumstances, we may grow and learn. We have faith that you will rise above this difficulty, deepen your relationships, and continue." I scoffed at him in silence, seeing how contradictory his remarks were. "We are pleased to have you join our firm as a member today. We genuinely hope that you will grow with us, overcome any challenges, and enjoy the pride and responsibilities that come with being a part of our organization." The entire auditorium broke out in applause. The new hires raised their hands collectively at the pledge ceremony, promising the company commitment and accountability. They inspired everyone in the room with their unwavering resolve and solidarity. Hannah, though, wasn't in the hallway. I was so upset that I was unable to see her grin. Next, we will have a greeting from our president, Mr. Johnson, to the new employees. When my name came up, I went to the podium. That individual was facing the business. Yes, I lead this company as its president. My father is the chairman, by the way. My father was going to make the speech first, but I asked to speak briefly instead. I welcome you all with the utmost warmth. In our organization, ethics are very important. People without morals could be seen as incompatible with our principles. I spoke with emphasis, picturing a specific individual. Always behave honorably and truthfully. This, in my opinion, is essential to the expansion and success of our company. With this, I gave Jones a stare. I had a mental image of his pallid face. I inhaled deeply and carried on. But today, someone behaved inappropriately, and nobody intervened. We don't need people who put their own interests first and ignore problems in this organization. Since this building is going to be demolished, you're all fired. The noise filled the whole hall. I ignored the mutterings behind me and walked off the stage. "President, that was a really inspiring speech." Jones walked over to me and adopted a whole new demeanor. "What?" "I mean, I'm sorry for the hurtful things I said the other day." "She's your daughter." "I never knew that." "So, if she wasn't my daughter, it would be okay to hurt her." I raised my voice and pressed Jones. "No, of course not, but her name." Our marriage ended in divorce. Now that she accompanied my ex-wife, she goes by Hannah Smith. Enough, I see. Give Brown a call. Brown was brought forward. He was hunched down and needed help to stand. "Yes, President, I apologize profusely. Please pardon me. You don't stand a chance. You two have lost your jobs. Leave now and don't return." I therefore let Jones and Brown go. My father, the chairman, gave me a harsh rebuke right away. The lives of our workers and their families are under our control. Avoid making quick decisions. Yes, but those two. Yes, those two can go, but protect the other employees. I will retract it right away. I thus took back my remarks from the orientation and concentrated on ensuring the safety of every employee, aside from Jones and Brown. Not one worker, not even the recent hires, chose to quit in spite of the furor on social media and the company's designation as a black one. We re-examined and clarified the philosophy and values of our business. We started down the path of rebuilding trust by putting these concepts into practice. Furthermore, in order to show the company's dedication to society, we concentrated on community service and social contribution initiatives. In the meanwhile, Jones and Brown went to multiple interviews in search of new jobs. You've worked at a publishing company before, right? I did, indeed. I was formerly employed by a publishing company. I see. It makes sense why the name seemed familiar. People with poor ethics are not hired by us. Kindly depart now. Jones' expression was confused and he was at a loss for words. He felt a mixture of regret and rage as he thought back on his errors. Brown, meantime, was at home, letting out a long sigh as he stared out the window. Like Jones, she had trouble finding a job because of her uncommon name, which became a disadvantage. On addition, the video stayed up online like a digital scar, and she was recognized by people who muttered and stared at her on the street. Brown gradually withdrew from society as a result of this. A year after the event, the public's trust in my company was gradually returning. Hannah made the decision to put herself to the test once more and was able to secure employment on her own. Dad, thank you for standing up for me back then, even threatening to demolish the building. Yes, I may have taken something a little too far. The philosophy of this company has not altered. Our goal is to serve as a link between the United States and the rest of the world, advancing American culture abroad and making sure that Americans are honored and appreciated both at home and abroad. I was having fun talking to my former classmates at a vibrant reunion with 100 people when Michael, who identifies himself as an outstanding manager, arrived. He snorted as he glanced at me. I work as a manager at a prestigious organization. In front of everyone, he declared, "You are nothing in comparison to me." He denigrated me. It seems like Michael always believes he is superior to me. The enjoyable reunion was marred because of him. However, Michael was rudely awakened shortly after. I'm 30 years old, and my name is Kevin. I work in the sales department of a prestigious corporation right now, and I'm always busy. Those who used to know me may be shocked to learn how much I've changed. That's because I used to be a shy, quiet person who couldn't confront others. That was due to a reason. My father reared me alone after my mother died before I was old enough to recall. However, my grandma looked after me a lot because he was preoccupied with his job. She loved me and tried her hardest to take care of me. I never experienced the loneliness of being motherless because of her. The elementary school had a Parents' Day event one day. My grandmother visited me, of course. She smiled broadly and waved when she noticed me in the classroom. When several classmates saw this, they burst out laughing. "I take it your mother isn't here." "Poor kid," they remarked. My students gave me pitying looks. I couldn't conceal my surprise at being referred to as poor for the first time. "You're wearing those because you don't have a mom. Huh," they said, mocking my attire. "You're really uninteresting." I was unable to put the emotion into words. I started to become quieter and more reclusive after that. I was still being teased by some of my classmates. I found it incomprehensible that my mother's absence was the only reason I had to endure this. However, I was able to enjoy primary school because the majority of my friends stuck up for me. As I progressed through junior high and high school after finishing elementary school, I began to feel the urge to alter my personality. I didn't want to spend the rest of my life being teased. I started actively joining friend groups and interacting with people, since I really didn't want to live that kind of life. Even though I wasn't very excellent in my studies, I put a lot of effort into them. I became more gregarious with time. No one made fun of me after that. I started working at my current employer after high school. I thought about going to college, but I gave up because it was hard with my father's pay. It was difficult to find a job with only a high school degree, and I was turned down by numerous employers when I applied. However, I persisted and ultimately received an offer from my present employer. I went to work with the goal of giving the company I worked for my entire life. Thankfully, I was able to concentrate on my work because neither my superiors nor my coworkers made fun of me for just having a high school degree. Every day, I felt thankful for that setting. I was there at my coming-of-age celebration 2 years after I began working. For the event, my grandmother got me a nice outfit. "You look fantastic, Kevin. It's unbelievable how much my little frail grandson has matured." With tears of happiness in her eyes, she exclaimed, "I'm so happy." I was also very moved. I promised myself that I would grow up to be the kind of person who could give back to my grandma for everything she had done for me. As I walked into the spacious space for the coming-of-age ceremony, I noticed that it was packed with newly employed people dressed in formal wear. I looked around for anyone I knew, and soon some of my classmates came up to me. They were elementary school classmates of mine. Seeing them after all this time made my heart rush with joy. But then I ran into the person I didn't want to see. That individual was coming directly at me. I looked down out of habit. "Kevin, long time no see." It was Michael, one of my primary school classmates. As he spoke, he put his hand on my shoulder. I instinctively flinched. When Michael saw my response, he burst out laughing. "You remain as weak and timid as ever. Which college are you enrolled in, then? Whose fault do you think it is that I'm like this?" I felt a bit of anger, but answered honestly, "I'm not in college. I'm working now." When I said that, Michael laughed even harder. "Not in college. I knew you were useless. Who doesn't go to college these days?" Hearing Michael's words, the other classmates fell silent. Treating a classmate he hadn't seen in years as worthless, Michael's character was still rotten. But I was used to this from Michael. He had teased me relentlessly in elementary school. Yes, the one who led the teasing back then was Michael. Michael would constantly target me, making degrading comments about my poverty. His family was wealthy, and he couldn't believe that I was being raised by my grandmother. At first, I ignored him, but then an incident happened that made it impossible to ignore him. It was during a recess at elementary school. Suddenly, Michael started shouting that his wallet was missing. Bringing wallets to school was against the rules, so none of us, including me, even knew he had brought one. But Michael claimed someone had stolen it. The thief is someone in this classroom. Then, unbelievably, he accused a classmate of being the thief. The classroom fell silent, and from that moment, my nightmare began. Suddenly, Michael grabbed my backpack and turned it upside down. I was stunned by his action. "Michael, what are you doing? Stop it," I shouted. Despite my protests, Michael didn't stop. He emptied my backpack and started going through my desk. "The only one poor enough to steal my wallet is you. Give it back." I hadn't taken Michael's wallet. I couldn't understand why I was being accused and felt utterly confused. Hearing the commotion, the teachers came into the classroom. After we explained the situation, they urged Michael to look elsewhere. But Michael insisted, "Kevin stole my wallet. He hates that I'm rich." What a thing to say. I had never envied Michael. Who would want to be like someone so rotten? I remember feeling my body heat up with anger. But in the next moment, Michael found his wallet inside his own desk. Everyone around widened their eyes with surprise. Despite having accused me of stealing, Michael laughed as if nothing had happened. Thank goodness, I almost got in trouble with my mom for losing my wallet. What was there to be thankful for? I had almost been falsely accused of theft, but Michael didn't care about my feelings and didn't even apologize. Seeing this, the teacher asked him to apologize to me. But Michael uttered something shocking. Kevin is poor. That's why he was suspected. It's not my fault. It's Kevin's fault for being poor and motherless. I couldn't believe my ears. Why did I have to hear such things from Michael? I decided to avoid him as much as possible from then on. At that moment, I made a vow to myself. However, since we were in the same class, Michael continued to bother me each time. It was a miserable experience. After graduating from elementary school, I thought I was finally free from Michael. But running into him again at the coming-of-age ceremony was really unfortunate. As I remained silent, my classmates tried to help me out. Working instead of going to college is impressive, they said. Hearing this, Michael snorted. What's so impressive about that? You probably just didn't want to study. Unlike you, I'm studying business at a top university. Shows how much smarter I am than you. I wanted to get away from Michael as quickly as possible, so I decided to just listen to him without reacting. A top university, that's impressive, Michael, I said, but deep down, I didn't mean it at all. My classmates seemed to understand my true feelings and started to ignore Michael's boasting as well. Satisfied with his bragging, Michael finally walked away. I thought I would never see him again. I felt relieved from the bottom of my heart, but fate was cruel. 10 years later, I turned 30. To celebrate my grandmother's 80th birthday, I took her to a high-end seafood restaurant. The restaurant was a hidden gem in an alleyway, known only to a few. Knowing my grandmother loved seafood, I was sure she would enjoy it. With excitement, I walked in with my grandmother. The restaurant was cozy, with only counter seating, run by a single-owner chef. My grandmother was impressed by the place. Is it okay to dine at such an expensive place? My grandmother asked me worriedly. The owner chef smiled at my grandmother's words. Today's your special day, madam. Don't worry and enjoy anything you like. My grandmother happily started ordering. Every dish the chef prepared was delicious, and our conversation flourished. Seeing her so happy, I thought about bringing her here again. As I was thinking this, the restaurant door suddenly swung open, and a loud voice came from behind me. Fancy meeting you here. It must be fate. Huh. I turned around, recognizing the unpleasant voice, to see Michael grinning with a woman by his side. My heart sank. Running into him again, especially during this celebration, was truly unfortunate. I decided to leave before my mood was completely ruined. Just as I was helping my grandmother up from her seat after finishing our meal, it happened. Michael started talking about himself again. This is my fiancée. We're getting married soon. You might recognize her. He introduced the woman standing next to him. She looked somewhat familiar, but I couldn't place her. Then Michael continued proudly, It's Alyssa, the cutest girl in our elementary school class. Don't you remember? Maybe you didn't care because you were such a gloomy guy. Alyssa. Oh, that's right. I vaguely remembered her, but it didn't matter to me at all. Congratulations, I said, trying to leave the restaurant. But Michael wouldn't stop talking. If you want, I can introduce you to someone good too. Though they'd probably hate a dull guy like you. I couldn't believe he was belittling me in front of my grandmother. I was shocked that Michael's character hadn't changed at all in 10 years. My grandmother's face turned worried in an instant. I could see the owner chef watching us anxiously from behind the counter. I started shaking with anger, and without responding, I hurried out of the restaurant with my grandmother. I didn't need Michael to introduce me to any women. I was seething with rage. Once outside, my grandmother looked at me with concern. Did something happen between you two? He was being very rude. To ease her worries, I lightly explained that Michael had teased me in elementary school. He's always been like that. He's not worth worrying about. I'm better than him now. Hearing this, my grandmother looked relieved and began to smile. Kevin, you've become so strong. You used to come crying to me over the smallest things. You've really grown up." "Come on, Grandma. I'm 30 now," I replied, laughing with her. Despite Michael's unwelcome appearance, the birthday celebration turned out to be very enjoyable. But I couldn't shake the feeling of unease. Why did I keep running into Michael, someone I didn't want to see? Was this some kind of fate? I hoped I wouldn't see him again. Seeing him always brought me down. But fate was not so kind. A few days later, I was at work as usual. It was a day for outside sales. As I walked with my colleague Mark, I saw Michael ahead of us. I was speechless at my bad luck again. I thought, trying to walk past him without being noticed, but Michael spotted me. He immediately approached and started talking. "Your company is around here? I can't believe a high school graduate like you found a job. Must be a third-rate company. No need to ask." Michael sneered at me. Mark, who was with me, was shocked at Michael's words. "Yeah, my company is just over there." "It might be a third-rate company," I responded, trying to end the conversation. Michael laughed again. "That poor company stuck with a useless, dull guy like you. No wonder their performance is poor. I should lend you some of my brains." Here we go again. Michael just couldn't resist looking down on me. I was too exasperated to even respond. Mark, standing beside me, looked irritated and said, "Kevin, we need to get going. It's a waste of time dealing with someone like him." Michael's face turned red with anger, but I followed Mark's advice and said, "I'm heading out for sales calls now. I'm busy, so see you around," and started walking away. Michael, still fuming, shouted after us, "I'm sacrificing my valuable time to talk to you useless people. You should be grateful." Both Mark and I were speechless. Michael was unbelievably foolish. Then, Mark, as if remembering something, shared a shocking fact with me. I was stunned when I heard it. A while later, I received a letter at my house. Opening it, I found it was an invitation to an elementary school reunion. An elementary school reunion. Michael would probably attend. If he did, he'd definitely look down on me again. So, despite wanting to go, I thought it would be best to skip it. Just then, a classmate called to confirm my attendance. When I said I wanted to decline, the classmate asked, "Is it because Michael will be there?" They must have remembered how Michael used to tease me in elementary school. I explained honestly that even after high school graduation, I had run into Michael a few times and endured his insults, so I didn't want to attend. The classmate then gave me some happy news. "Don't worry, Michael isn't coming. He has other plans, so feel free to join us." "Huh, really?" I asked. If Michael wasn't coming to the reunion, I had no reason not to go. So I decided to attend. Without Michael, it seemed like it would be a fun event, and I felt excited. On the day of the reunion, I dressed in the outfit I had prepared for the occasion and headed confidently to the venue. The reunion was held in a large restaurant in town, a grand event. It had been 18 years since elementary school graduation, but this was the first reunion. I was excited to see what everyone was up to and catch up with them. Entering the venue, I saw my classmates already gathered, enjoying conversations with wine glasses in hand. I quickly grabbed a drink and joined the group, enjoying the lively chats. Some classmates were married with children, sharing photos and stories. Then, a commotion arose near the entrance. I felt a sense of foreboding as my classmates, and I turned our attention to the entrance. I was frozen with fear. There stood Michael with a lista by his side. Wasn't he supposed to be absent? I stood in shock, unable to move. A classmate hurried over to me. This morning, Michael called to say he was coming after all. "I'm sorry for the late notice." The classmate looked apologetic, but since I was already there, I decided to stay. I just tried to quietly leave the venue. Unfortunately, Michael spotted me. As soon as he saw me, he walked over with a smug grin. "Leaving already? I'm here too. Let's chat more," he said. Other classmates were watching me. Although I wanted to leave immediately, I didn't want to ruin the atmosphere. Reluctantly, I decided to stay a bit longer. One of the classmates spoke to Michael in surprise. "I'm shocked. I never expected you to be dating Alyssa." Michael wore a smug expression. "Back in those days, I didn't pay much attention to girls," he said. But apparently, Alyssa was famous among the boys for being cute. Alyssa blushed. "We met through a mutual friend. I heard there was someone who graduated from a prestigious university and worked at a top company. And it turned out to be Michael. We started dating and quickly decided to get married. Even I'm surprised at how fast it all happened." Everyone looked at Michael with envy. Michael, basking in their admiration, proudly said, "We're getting married soon. I'd love it if you all could come to the wedding." Some people applauded and congratulated him. "I envy that you are in the happiest time of your life. Graduating from a prestigious university really makes a difference," one classmate said. And Michael, being Michael, responded, "Well, I'm nothing like Kevin over there. If you end up like him, your life is over." I couldn't believe he would say something like that at a reunion. I was too shocked to speak. While I was struggling to contain my anger, Michael dropped a bombshell. "I'm a manager at a top company, unlike you, who will be stuck working at a third-rate company for the rest of your life," he said. In front of 100 classmates, Michael looked down on me. I had reached my limit. Then a classmate exclaimed in amazement, "Aren't you working at that top company, Oakwood Corporation? Being a manager there is impressive." I was stunned. That couldn't be true. What was he talking about? I calmly asked, "Michael, which department at Oakwood Corporation are you a manager of?" Everyone turned their attention to Michael. He started to panic. "What does it matter to you? Why should I tell you?" he snapped. A classmate nudged Michael, laughing. "Come on, don't be shy. It's not like it cost you anything to tell us," a classmate said jokingly, making Michael even more flustered. Encouraged by the classmates, Michael reluctantly muttered in a small voice, The sales department." Cheers erupted from the classmates. "A sales manager at Oakwood Corporation. That's incredible. The sales department there is known for being highly competitive. Way to go, Michael." Michael looked proud again, but everything he said was a lie. I couldn't let him continue to deceive everyone. It was time to reveal the truth about Michael. "Oh, really?" I said. "Who approved the new manager, huh?" Michael looked confused. Everyone turned to me, puzzled. "Michael, when did you become the sales manager at Oakwood Corporation?" I asked. Michael glared at me. "About 6 months ago. Why do you care? Even if you're jealous, you'll never work at Oakwood Corporation." Our classmates were holding their breath, watching the exchange. I couldn't help but laugh. "What's so funny?" Michael demanded. "Because, Michael, you becoming the sales manager at Oakwood Corporation is impossible. And you saying I could never work there is quite ironic." The room fell silent. Then I revealed the truth. "I'm the sales manager at Oakwood Corporation." My classmates stared at me with wide eyes, clearly in disbelief. No one seemed to believe what they were hearing. Michael seemed too shocked to speak. "There's no way. You're just a high school graduate. High school grads can't work at Oakwood Corporation. You must be at some third-rate company." I showed Michael my business card, which I happened to have with me. It clearly stated that I was the sales manager at Oakwood Corporation. The classmates began passing my card around, and the room buzzed with excitement. Michael's face turned pale, and he started to tremble. Kevin, a sales manager at Oakwood Corporation, was completely bewildered. Indeed, Oakwood Corporation doesn't hire high school graduates now, but they did when I joined. I started in the sales department right out of high school. Michael looked even more shaken, almost collapsing. "Yes, I actually work at Oakwood Corporation," I said. "Currently, I serve as the sales manager." The path to becoming a manager wasn't easy. Being a high school graduate, man, I had to work harder than my college-educated colleagues. I spent countless hours working, sometimes even sleeping at the office. Through perseverance, I achieved top sales results in the department. This made me well known within the sales team, and this spring, my efforts were recognized. I became the youngest manager in the company's history. I could hardly believe it myself. When I got the promotion, it felt like a dream. Now, as a manager, I strive to make the sales department even better every day. That's why I knew it was impossible for Michael to be the sales manager at Oakwood Corporation. Moreover, Michael wasn't an employee of my company. "Michael, what's going on?" I asked. Alyssa, who had been quietly listening, raised her voice in shock. Other classmates were also puzzled. Does this mean Michael has been lying to us? The room erupted in murmurs. Michael stayed silent, not knowing what to say. Since he wouldn't admit it, I decided to reveal the truth. Why lie, Michael? You work in the sales department at Johnson Industries, a subsidiary of Oakwood Corporation, don't you? Michael looked at me in disbelief. Alyssa was stunned. How do you know that? Michael stammered, trembling. A loud voice emerged from the crowd. I told him. Mark, with a sharp gaze, stared at Michael. Michael seemed to recognize him instantly and was taken aback. You're Mark from university. We were also in elementary school together, right? And you were with Kevin earlier. Are you also an employee at Oakwood Corporation? Yes, I am. You teased me endlessly back in elementary school. Remember when I found out we were going to the same university? I was really upset, but you seem to have forgotten all about me now. I'm working in the sales department at Oakwood Corporation. The classmates were in an uproar. Mark was actually my colleague. After graduating from FTH University, he joined Oakwood Corporation and became my subordinate. Mark also grew up in a household without a mother, just like me. Because of this, Michael had bullied Mark in the same way he bullied me. Mark hated and had tried to avoid any interaction with him from that point on. Unfortunately, he ended up at the same university as Michael, but was in a different department, so he managed to graduate without being bullied. However, while we were out on a sales call, we ran into Michael. At that moment, Mark revealed that he had gone to the same university as Michael and told me about his job. Wait a minute, Mark graduated from F University, right? So Michael also went to F University, but didn't Michael say he graduated from T University? Michael started to get flustered again. Alyssa looked like she was about to cry, tears welling up in her eyes. Michael had lied to us about graduating from a prestigious university and also about working at a top company. How much did he need to boost his ego? Unbelievable. Where I graduated from and where I work is none of your business. Stop meddling. Michael finally snapped and started yelling. The class around us was stunned into silence. Don't boast about lies. Think about how Alyssa feels, Mark blared at Michael. But Michael didn't back down. Alyssa loves me. It doesn't matter whether I went to school or where I work. We connected by true love, he said with such confidence. How could he say that after boasting with such false credentials? Alyssa stood there in shock and began to cry. You lied to my parents, too. We've even had a formal engagement. How are you going to take responsibility? I hate liars. I can't marry you. Our classmates surrounded Alyssa, looking at her with pity. Michael was stunned by her words. His previous bravado began to fade, and he started pleading with Alyssa. Alyssa, you said you love me no matter what. I admit I lied about my background, but please don't say that. But Alyssa refused to even look at him. Of course, I wouldn't want to be involved with a liar. Even if I were in her position, consider the engagement off. I can't do this anymore, Alyssa said and left the reunion hall. Michael desperately ran after her, leaving the venue as well. The hall fell into a stunned silence. I can't believe Michael was lying about all of this. At least the truth came out now. Alyssa would have been miserable otherwise. With Michael and Alyssa gone, we were free to reminisce and enjoy the rest of the reunion. A few days later, I arrived at the office as usual. There I saw Mr. Johnson, the president of Johnson Industries, and Michael. I figured it was about the recent event. With that in mind, I approached the two of them. As soon as Mr. Johnson saw me, he began to apologize. I am deeply sorry for the trouble Michael has caused. We had no idea he was using your name to boast about a false position at Oakwood Corporation. Mr. Johnson looked sincerely apologetic. We truly had no idea he was lying about being the sales manager. Michael, apologize properly, Mr. Johnson urged. Michael, sulking, didn't move. Yes, Michael had been boasting in various places that he was the sales manager at Oakwood Corporation. Mark had discovered this and reported it to Johnson Industries. I was just joking around. Kevin and I are friends, so it's no big deal. Michael showed no sign of remorse. I had reached my limit. Michael and I are not friends. Since he shows no remorse, I expect appropriate action to be taken. When I said this, Michael turned pale. Mr. Johnson began to panic. Of course we will consider Michael's position when we return to the company. Come on, Michael, let's go. Suddenly, Michael stood up and clung to me. Kevin, I apologize for everything. Please, I'm begging you. I ignored Michael and walked away. It's too late for him to apologize now. He needs to deal with the consequences of his actions. Later, I heard through the grapevine that Michael and Alyssa's wedding was called off. Additionally, Mr. Johnson fired Michael from the company. Michael is now desperately hunting for a job, but in this small town, his reputation has quickly spread, and no company is willing to hire him. It seems it will be very difficult for Michael to find a new job anytime soon. But this is the natural consequence of involving so many people in his lives. Whatever happens to Michael from now on is none of my concern. I will continue to live my life with my head held high. My manager Emily looks at me. When should I rely on you? Her tear-filled eyes sparkle and are breathtakingly gorgeous. Emily puts her head on my shoulder as I hesitate. She has lovely scent emanating from her hair. From now on, I might rely on you a bit, she replies. Her remarks have me agitarian. Ah, I slept so well. Ryan is my name. I'm a businessman in my 31st year. I awoke in a hotel room this morning on the final day of a 3-day work trip. My head hurts. Ugh. Last night, I had too much to drink. I wake up from my sleep with a dull headache and think back to the business dinner we had last night. After the meeting, we headed directly to a local bar that opened early, where I ended up becoming very Wazrian. However, it was worthwhile. Emily, just wait. You'll be happy with the outcome. My hand is clenched as I raise it in the empty hotel room, suggesting that I'm still a little tipsy. I decide to take a shower since I suddenly feel humiliated. The woman I feel something for is Emily. She's a gorgeous unmarried woman of 33, older than me. She is a cool woman who makes a lifelong commitment to her work. We collaborate on sales a lot together as a team. I remember that we are invariant to a wedding today after having a long shower. I've heard that a couple of the bride and groom's colleagues were invariant, and they are important contacts from a significant customer. We're a little company, so I wasn't expecting to be invariant, so I was shocked when Emily and I got invitations. Even the normally restrained Emily was leaping with delight. We get along well with the couple at work quite a bit. The invitation to the wedding is a result of Emily, and I always dealing with them honestly. I have to get dressed nicely and get to the event in order to leave an even better impression. By rail, it takes roughly an hour to get to my house in New York from here. I'll go to the place after finishing my preparations at home. The nuptials begin around 3:00 p.m. even though it's just 9 a.m. I have a train reservation that departs at 10. I can relax for a little while because it's simply a 5-minute walk from the hotel to the train. I search for my phone and make the decision to call Emily. I always have my phone in my bag. Where's my bag? Huh. I was so inebriated when I got back to the hotel last night that I immediately passed out. I would have thrown the bag close to the bed if it had been my turn. I check underneath the bed, but it's not there. I look around the hotel room, but I still can't seem to find it. Panic creeps into my consciousness. Is it possible that I left it at the bar? That backpack contains my phone, business cards, and wallet. Everything that matters. I asked them to phone the pub I went to last night as I dashed to the front desk, but nobody picks up. Naturally, yesterday also saw the opening of the bar at 3:00 p.m. At this hour, the staff members must all be sound asleep. Fortunately, the hotel costs are paid for by the firm, so there was no issue with checking out. But all I have now is a travel bag that I've hurriedly packed full of clothes in. I'm lost, but there's one silver lining. My train ticket was in my suit's breast pocket. I always pocket the tickets. I've done it since I was a young child. I left the return ticket in my pocket after using the outgoing ticket. Emily says to me all the time, "Put it in your wallet. It's risky." But the habit came to my rescue this time. Anyway, I can work things out as long as I can get home. My landlord can let me into my apartment even without keys if I explain this to him. Thankfully, my landlord is on the ground floor of the apartment complex, and we communicate frequently. Despite my anxiety over losing my phone, I hurried to the station in time to catch the 10:00 train. I see people gawking at one location in the station as I move quickly through it. What is happening? Glancing in their way, I spot a squatting teenage girl wearing a school uniform. She appears to be crying. Despite her apparent pain, no one approaches her while she sobs loudly. A high school girl is in danger, and nobody is there to help her. What a cruel world. There's still time before the train leaves. I go up to the girl. What's wrong? She flinches and gives me a worried face when I speak. It makes sense that the abrupt conversation from a man in his 30s startles her. However, it appears to be an emergency, and she needs assistance. Her tiny lips move just a bit as I wait for her to say something. She cries and murmurs, I'm okay," lowering her head once more. It's obvious she's not okay. I carry on speaking. "I can't just leave you like this, even though I might not be able to do much. What took place? Is there anyone you need to call?" As I reach for my phone, I realize, oh, that's right, that neither my wallet nor my phone is with me. Okay, I'll go now, but maybe the lady at the information desk can help. I offer, realizing that I can't help her since she doesn't appear ready to talk. The girl looks worried that I'm going to be gone. I try to get up, but she tugs at the hem of my suit. My mom is in critical condition." What? Through her tears, I attempt to interpret the story. Lily is her name. She is a New York-born, 17-year-old high school student. She found out this morning that her mother was critically injured in an automobile accident. She and her teacher hurried to the station. They split up at the station entrance, and on her approach to the platform, she discovered at the ticket gate that both her pocketbook and the ticket her teacher had given her were missing. She doesn't know if she left it at her internship location or dropped it somewhere along the way. To make matters worse, she isn't even carrying her phone because her school forbids cell phone use during internships. She knelt down here, feeling quite powerless. How should I proceed? My mom. I can't abandon her in this state. I want to help her since I lost my wallet too, but all I have is a train ticket to New York and some old clothes. She can return to New York if I give her this ticket, but I won't be able to do the same. Today, I also have an important client wedding to attend. Thinking about this conundrum, I think of my grandfather. My mom's side grandpa loved me so much when I was a child. He looked very lonely after my grandma died, and then he got sick. He appeared to be saying, "I'm all alone," while lying in bed in the hospital. I used to tell him, "You've got me," and always smiled when I saw him because it made him happy. However, I was unable to be with him when he ultimately passed away. He passed away by himself. I was really sorry that I did. I was playing at a friend's house when I learned of his serious condition. Grandpa had already passed away by the time my parents called the homes of all of my classmates to try and locate me. I turned to face Lily, who was still in tears. Who needs this rail ticket more obviously? I reach into my breast pocket, pull out the train ticket, and give it to Lily. Her face briefly brightens, but she swiftly averts her gaze out of shame. I push the ticket firmly into her grasp, but I feel bad for taking it. I give her a hard grasp on her hand and tell her, "Don't think twice. You'll regret it." Lily's surprised, teary eyes expand. "I understand your mother's condition is critical. Although critical implies the worst could happen at any time, I sincerely hope she survives. Before you regret it, run without hesitation." She takes off sprinting for the platform after I give her a gentle shove. With my head in my hands, I watch her vanish past the ticket gate. How did I get here? Was I really pretending to be a hero of some sort? I have an important wedding to attend, but it should be all right as long as Emily shows there. Anyway, I'm just an extra. My ability to remain upbeat and avoid concentrating on things is my strength. I decide not to worry and make my way to the police station. Perhaps someone has turned in my bag. It was not, however, at the police station. I pleaded with the policeman to allow me to use the phone. When I contact in the office, nobody picked up. Of course, it's Saturday. We don't work on the weekends unless there's an emergency. I then make a last-ditch effort to remember Emily's phone number. There's no way I could remember her number in this day and age when you can call someone with just a single tap on your phone. I searched my travel luggage for any business contact information, but I couldn't find anything. I made the decision to go to the pub I went to last night. It opens as a bar at 3:00 p.m. I might be able to get the train, sit through an hour-long travel, and still make it to the 3:00 p.m. wedding if the staff shows up a few hours early. I was waiting nervously for the personnel to show up, but they didn't show up till 1:00 p.m. I was getting impatient as I wear in. At last, at 1:30 p.m., a staff person arrived slowly, taken aback by my abrupt appearance. Luckily, my stuff was kept behind the register. When cleaning up, the employee who had served me the previous evening saw my luggage and asked Brian to follow me, but they were unable to locate me. They expressed regret for the wait for their novice. I hurried out of the bar after thanking the gracious personnel. I noticed that Emily had a ton of missed calls when I looked at my phone. While I was running, I called Emily. Before the first ring had even ended, she responded. Emily's irate voice rang in my ears before I could say anything. "What have you been doing all this time?" The abrupt yelling stunned me so much that my mind went blank. The wedding ceremony begins at 3:00 p.m. Even now, it is just 1:30 p.m. I shouldn't have to take this much criticism. Perhaps something occurred. I gave a quick explanation of the circumstances. Emily groaned so deeply that it was alarming, even though I couldn't see her, when I remarked that I had left my luggage at the bar. "What? So you haven't done so yet?" "No, I haven't gotten on the train yet." She exclaimed, "What on earth are you doing?" Once more. It makes sense. I'm to blame for this. I was going to tell her that I would be running a little late and ask her to clarify the situation when someone shocked me on the other end of the phone. Emily appeared to be crying. Our customer, who has crucial connections, is getting married. Even getting in Varian is a significant opportunity to increase trust. I could blow this chance, but sobbing seems excessive. I began to fabricate excuses, thinking that my admiration for Emily might have to be sealed for all time. Well, I did have the train ticket, but I gave it away for a good reason. What? Emily gasped on the other end of the call, and I could feel it. I got to the station right then. Well, I'll get a fresh ticket and get over immediately. I suddenly ended the phone and purchased a ticket to New York at the desk. Talk to you soon, I said. In 10 minutes, the train was leaving. Nevertheless, it was 3:00 p.m. when they arrived in New York. The wedding will take place in a 5-star hotel around 15 minutes by taxi from New York Station, but I will definitely not be able to make the 3:00 p.m. start. There isn't enough time for me to change into my wedding suit at home. I hurried into a department store as soon as I got off the train at New York Station, explained my position to the employees, bought a black suit that fit me, and changed there before going to the event. I headed to the location, thankful for my body that fits into off-the-rack suits and my mother for raising me the way she did. Breathless, I arrived to see that the wedding ceremony was about to end and give way to the celebration. The time was 3:30 p.m. I was able to save myself from having to open the door in the middle of the reception. I went looking for Emily after checking in. Emily saw me before I could find her. She was wearing a gorgeous smoky pink dress. She came running over to give me a hard hug. Well, my face flushed, and I mumbled incoherently, my mind going blank. Emily expressed gratitude. Despite my lack of understanding, I gazed into her tear-filled eyes. You helped Lily, didn't you? Even though the name seemed familiar, my mind was still not quite working properly. My niece is the high school student to whom you handed your train ticket. This girl, you see. Emily displayed her phone to me. The girl I'd given the ticket to just hours before was there, looking vaguely happy in what appeared to be a hospital ward. I was astounded as I was overwhelmed by the synchronicity. Wait, so the critical condition you mentioned was? My sister, Emily went on. It was a difficult circumstance. Emily learned her sister was seriously hurt and raced to the hospital. Emily's brother-in-law, Lily's father, had also died in an accident, in addition to Emily's previously deceased parents. Emily had been waiting for Lily and trying to get in touch with me after getting in touch with Lily's instructor. She asked me to attend the wedding in her place because she couldn't possibly make it in this state. Her calls were unanswered, though, and I realized that I had left my phone and everything else at the pub. About 11:30 a.m., Lily arrived at the hospital. At that point, they discovered she was unable to board the train due to the loss of her handbag. Startled, Emily inquired, "How did you get back?" Eyes welling with tears, Lily uttered, "A stranger gave me his ticket. We had to head out for the wedding by the time you called if we were going to make it. When I eventually reached out to you, you promised to be late, even though I had thought you would handle the wedding by yourself." I cried out in worry and frustration. Emily said, "I apologized," to me. She apologized, and I took it. Wait a minute, I noticed a startling realization. So your sister is still in critical condition, and Lily is alone with her? Emily nodded as I stared in this, fighting back tears. Hurry, go back to the hospital quickly. I Shorian, pushing Emily's back like a broken record. I made it to the wedding, and Lily is there, so everything is okay. In addition, this is a significant event. Before she could finish, I said, "Just leave. Should you not, you will regret it." I see that Ivesterian, you'll regret it, twice already today. I stared Emily square in the eyes as I thought of my grandfather once more. Leave this to me. Everything is going to be all right. I'll make this crucial agreement happen on my own. I sincerely conveyed my unfounded confidence. Kindly remain with your sister. I pleaded with her, "Please stay with Lily." Emily turned and walked out of the room after saying, "Thank you," softly. As I watched Emily's back, I prayed, "Please make it in time." Nothing went wrong throughout the reception. The bride and groom grinned as I approached them at the appropriate time. They were quite concerned after learning about Emily's early departure from the crew. They told me to take care of her, which made me feel inferior. I had nothing to sustain me and had caused all of this hardship. They expressed excitement for our huge deal, and I gave them my word that I would return for business. It seems that they had heard part of what was being said in the lobby. I hastily left the bride and groom's table, feeling a little uncomfortable and aware that others were waiting to greet them. As soon as the reception was over, I gave Emily a call. I straightened up at her worried voice. "Can I come to the hospital too?" Emily's voice was weak, and I wanted so much to help her. Instead of giving me the runaround for interrupting a family moment, she surprised me by saying, "I'm waiting for you." I got a cab to the hospital after asking where it was. Gasping for air, I arrived at the hospital and observed staff members, including nurses, crowded around. She was obviously running out of time. Sensibly sensing the circumstances, I walked up to Emily in silence. Lily was clutching the hand of the woman who was on the bed, and Emily's eyes were overflowing with tears. Like Emily, Lily was in tears. Lily gave a little whimper as the heart rate monitor beeped less frequently. "Mom." Everybody's attention was on Lily. "You're holding my hand, Mom. Are you able to hear me?" Her mother's eyelids did not open when she spoke to her in desperation. Upon close inspection, I noticed a little movement of her lips, but I was unable to discern any words. She appeared to be saying "thank you," so I said it in a whisper out of reflex. The cardiac monitor gave a menacing noise at that point. There were muffled tears across the room. Emily faltered, and I helped her up. As the doctor's last words reverberated hollowly across the room, Emily and Lily started in crying. The room went silent after the nurses and physicians had Deparian, and Emily and Lily had sobbed uncontrollably. "I'm so glad," I muttered. Emily regarded my inadvertent remark with disdain. Ignoring it, I muttered, "Grandpa may have added something as well." I would have loved to hear it. My eyes began to brim up with tears. Emily's hard face began to melt into tears once more. Did she say thank you? She said what I had spoken in the last seconds. With conviction, I said, "Yes." Emily's eyes filled with tears again. She said, I see, as though comforting herself. "Many thanks. I didn't get your name or contact details. On the train, I felt remorse for it. I had no idea you and my aunt worked for the same company." Now that she had calmed down a little, Lily really did love me. Emily took my lead and was grateful too. "We were able to say a proper goodbye because of you. I'm grateful." I retreated a step. I stammered, "Well, you two could have gotten back quickly if I hadn't left my bag at the bar," to which Emily scolded me with a scowl. The tone in the room softened for a time when Lily started in giggling. Emily looked at me and said, "Just let me know if you need anything." "When should I rely on you?" Her eyes, full with tears, were sparkling and breathtakingly gorgeous. Emily put her head on my shoulder while I hesitated. Emily's hair gave out a lovely scent. "I might rely on you a bit more from now on," she added. She said something that startled me, so I yelled back, "Yes, I'll always support you." Emily reprimanded me mildly, saying, "You're too loud." Following then, only Emily and Lily's immediate family members were involved in the burial and other preparations. I did what I could to assist. After a little calmness, Emily welcomed me to her house. She expressed her gratitude by ordering some easy snacks for delivery. Emily's cheery demeanor belied a trace of grief at seeing her sister depart. Emily spoke slowly at first. I decided to take Lily in. It was to be anticiparian. I hadn't thought Emily would do that. I said, "Lily must be so relieved." "Ah, marriage is a distant dream now," Emily remarked with a wry smile on her face. "How out me?" I blurred out without thinking. Emily laughed quietly and showed no signs of horror. "That isn't feasible. Lily still has 5 years left to complete her undergraduate education. Ryan, find someone you like and be happy. I can wait 5 years, I muttered, holding on to optimism despite my frustration. Emily appeared to be dismissing me casually. Please go on a date with me that is intended to lead to marriage. I'll wait for however long it takes. I'm in love with you, I cried out in desperation. Emily looked amazing as she straightened her back. It is my duty to bring Lily up to be a decent person till she completes her college education. It's not a money problem, but I have to help Lily. Emily firmly staring. I don't have time for a relationship, staring directly at me. Can't you share a bit of that responsibility with me? I'd inquired. At my remarks, Emily frowned her head. It's not feasible for a 31-year-old child to take care of a high school female. To Emily's frustrated glance, I shot out, and Emily, you're just a 33-year-old young woman. At my comment, Emily puffed out her cheeks. Don't state a woman's age so bluntly. I started laughing because her puffed-up cheeks were so funny. Subsequently, I approached Emily and grasped her hand. For an instant her hand stiffened, but she did not withdraw. Lily was sobbing at the station, and I want to shield her. Lily was crying in the hospital, and I want to be there for her. And just as you were crying in that hospital room, I want to spend the rest of my life loving and mending you. Emily did not reply verbally, but she gave me a firm handshake. She was expressing her affirmation through it. I married Emily after 5 years together. We had arrived at the reception after the wedding ceremony. The venue was tiny and cozy so as not to make Emily feel awkward about not having many family. Our guest list consisted mostly of friends. We sent an invitation to the client's couple who had first invited us to their wedding 5 years prior. Grinning, they brought their 2 tiny children along. Emily got up first to change into a new clothes. Lily approached our table as I was watching her go. She had been busy as a first-year police officer and had recently graduated from college. It was her first time back from the police academy. She studied diligently and aspired to become a police officer in order to assist less in road accidents after losing both of her parents in accidents. Every time I dropped by Emily's house with some goodies, Lily was in her room studying. With pride, I observed the stunning young lady in front of me. Lily, you're so adorable. Has someone strange attempted to contact you? I inquired. Lily chuckled at what I said. Cubbly? You ought to mention it to the bride, she shot back. It's okay, I told the bride earlier that she's gorgeous. Emily was stunning throughout the preparations, I've been telling her. Lily called me Uncle Ryan and added, That's so like you, Uncle Ryan. I apologize for keeping you waiting for half a decade. My aunt has a strong will. We had agreed that we wouldn't tie the knot before Lily was settled. Not just Emily, but the 2 of us made that choice. I gave Lily a slight shake of my head and grinned. In these 5 years, have I done anything for you? I inquired. Uncle Ryan, you've been my hero ever since you gave me the train ticket, Lily whispered in my ear as she leaned gently in. I blushed suddenly when I heard that. Lily smiled and tonried me. I was told by a staff member that I could leave the room for the time being. Lily smiled at me as I got up to go. My hero, Uncle Ryan, please take good care of my precious aunt. I nodded in agreement with what she said. Emily would be dressing in a slim, deep blue dress that was just right for her next look. I knew I would be praising her once more. I forced a smile to hide as I walked toward the reception hall door and heard the MC say, Towards you, adorned in that beautiful blue dress, behind me.